The crime that I will talk about today is considered one of the most heinous crimes that occurred in the Arab Republic of Egypt, in which I was born, and for which I and its people have the utmost affection and appreciation. This crime occurred in Cairo, specifically in the Nasser City neighborhood. In fact, the events of this heinous crime may be similar to other crimes in different places, but the difference between it and any other crime is that we know with certainty that the criminals in this story received their just punishment. Because for the first time in the history of Egypt's official television, an execution was shown live. All the Egyptian people at that time witnessed these defining moments in the history of justice. So let's start and find out what exactly happened in this heinous crime. We are now in the year 1997 in the Arab Republic of Egypt. Newspaper sellers were calling out loudly, "Read the incident! Read the incident!" Nasser City thugs, the killing of engineer Nanis. Those were the newspaper headlines at the time. There was no topic that people talked about in cafes and in public meeting places more important than the topic of the horror of the crime and the extent of its ugliness. It was an issue of public opinion. But wait, before I forget, if you like this content, please don't forget to support the channel by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to leave your comment whether you like the video or not. Let's go back in time a little before this sad news was published in the newspapers. The engineer, Nanis Ahmed Fawad, is a beautiful Egyptian woman, married with 2 children. She was living a happy and stable life with her husband, the engineer, Hani Kamal Eldin. God blessed them with 2 angels, Hadir, a 5-year-old daughter, and her brother, Anas, who is 2 years old. One day, the husband contracted with 3 workers to make renovations on the apartment's paint. Their apartment was in the Nasser City area in Cairo. The 3 workers with whom the husband agreed were Mohammed Zakaria Alwan, Syed Zakaria Alwan, and their cousin, Mohammed Khurshid Nasser al-Din. The situation so far is very normal. The 3 of them arrived at the apartment and agreed with the husband that they would begin work. The engineer, Nanis, entered her bedroom to get the money to pay as a down payment. As soon as the 3 of them saw the engineer come out of her room with the money, they thought that the room was full of money. And Satan entered the minds of the men. The 3, especially since they noticed the jewelry that the engineer was wearing, and decided to steal the money and jewelry. On October 13th, 1997, they went to the apartment of engineer Nanis while her husband was away from work. The monster, Mohammed Alwan, and his cousin, Mohammed Khurshid, went up to the apartment and knocked on the door for the engineer to enter, and he would open the door for them. They told her that they had come to complete the rest of the work because it was missing some final touches and some finishes. Simple. She said to them very kindly, "Of course, please come in and ask permission. I'll go and get you some tea." The poor woman went to make tea, not knowing about their diabolical plan. As soon as she entered the kitchen, the criminal, Mohammed Khurshid, entered behind her and put his hand on her mouth and held her breath. The poor woman said, "Take what you want, but do not harm me or my children." But the criminal, Mohammed Alwan, quickly caught up with him and was carrying a knife, and without any mercy or pity, he stabbed her in the stomach and right side, which led to blood exploding all over the kitchen. The poor woman fell to her last breath. Their crime was supposed to end there and they would steal what they wanted and leave, but that is not what happened. What happened after that was that the 3rd of them, Syed Alwan, had stayed downstairs at the entrance to the building to watch the building, guard it, and report if, noticing anything that was troubling them, the criminals went to call a 3rd of them to help them steal the contents of the apartment. As soon as they got up, they went to the engineer's body in the kitchen to steal all the jewelry and gold she was wearing. They then went to search for money in all the rooms of the apartment. During their search, the 2 children, Anas and Hadir, came out. They left their room to ask about their mother, and one of the criminals replied to them, "She's in the kitchen and will return to you soon." So the children returned to their room to continue playing, and without any introduction, the criminal, Mohammed Khurshid, entered and strangled the little girl. who had no help or strength and remained close to her, her little neck until she lost her breath and the poor girl died. To ensure that she was really dead, the criminal, Mohammed Zakaria, stabbed her with a knife several times. Here the little boy Anas cried and sat screaming from fear and terror. So someone took him and locked him in the wardrobe, and they continued their search for money inside the apartment. The poor little child kept crying and screaming for fear of loneliness and darkness. It seemed that the voice of this innocent child disturbed the monsters. So the criminal, Mohammed Khorshid, went to him and opened the closet door on him, so he threw himself into his embrace out of intense fear. He did not realize that he had thrown himself into the embrace of a real monster. Mohammed Khorshid's heart did not soften or weaken. As for the looks of the innocent child, he went and got a scarf belonging to the engineer, Nanis, and strangled the little Anas. After he finished killing the last victim, they left the apartment and carried as much money and jewelry as they could and fled. They left behind 3 bodies: the mother in the kitchen drowned in her own blood, the little girl a strangled body dripping with blood, and the little boy hanged in his room. Oh my God, these are truly monsters. The father returned to his apartment to find that he was in a state of shock. He found the lifeless bodies of his lover, his wife, and his children. The shocked man told the police to immediately arrive at the crime scene and begin investigations. It appeared to the police that the husband, relatives, or neighbors might have committed the crime. However, the husband told them about the 3 workers, and a witness from the neighbors informed them. He noticed a person standing at the entrance to the building on the day of the crime. Only a few days passed and the 3 criminals were arrested. The 3 monsters confessed to everything they had committed, and their confessions were recorded and broadcast publicly on state television. Among the confessions of the criminal, Mohammed Zakaria, is that he works in the profession of drawing and receives a wage of £15 per day, and that he has accumulated debts. When he saw the jewelry and money, their cousin, Mohammed Khorshid, plotted against them, stealing the money and jewelry and paying off all their debts. They justified their heinous crime by saying that they needed money to pay off their debts. I will leave you here with some of their confessions that were broadcast on state television.
هي مش كده؟ ايوه. تشتغل ايه يا محمد؟
اشتغل نقاش.
وانت بسلامتك عندك كام سنة؟
انا عندي 22.
22. وابن خالك عنده كام سنة؟
مش عارف، عنده تقريبا 24، اكبر مني بحاجات بسيطة.
هو اللي خطط؟ خططها ازاي؟ قول لي كده.
قال لي تعالى وديني ووريني الشقة، بس طلعت ووديته ووريته الشقة ونزل تحت العمارة قاعد يلف حوالين منها.
انت كنت بعد كده رحتوا الشقة؟ لما ست طلبت النقاشة؟
بعد كده اتفقنا بقى ان انا وهو نطلع. اخويا يستنى.
كان الساعة كام؟
كانت الساعة حوالي 10 ونص 11.
امتى؟
الصبح.
يا ساتر، في عز النهار يعني؟ يعني انتوا عملتوا العملية دي في عز النهار؟
ايوه.
يعني انت ضربت الست بالمطوه في عز النهار؟ بقول لك ايه، كنت مبرشم بصراحه. قول لي، ما خلاص الشرطه مسكتك خلاص.
لا والله حضرتك
كنت مبرشم.
والله حضرتك خمر ما شربت.
امال يا اخويا لما انت دخلت كده وضربتها بجنبها وببطنها كده بالثقه دي؟
والله مش بالثقه. انا قلت لحضرتك اول ما ابن خالي مسكها انا كنت عايز اجري. والله كنت عايز اجري.
جبان؟
خفت
ولا شجاع؟
لا خفت.
خفت من ايه؟
خفت من ربنا والله اول حاجه. وخفت من كل حاجه تاني. كده لقيته راح منادي عليها.
وهو انت لما بتضرب واحده في بطنها وفي جنبها تقول لي خفت؟
ما انا قلت لحضرتك
خفت ايه؟
ما هو لو جريت هو سابها جري وجري هنتحبس برضه.
انت ابن خاله؟ عندك كم سنه؟
22 سنه.
تشتغل ايه؟
نقاش.
زي برضو
محمد.
انت اللي اترمى في حضنك الولد الصغير؟
انا اللي فتحت عليه الدولاب. كان محمد حطه في الدولاب. وسمعت صوته بيصرخ، فبقول له هو فين الواد؟ قال لي ده في الدولاب. فجيت جري فتحت الدولاب وخدته في حضني. اول ما فتحته هو ارتمى في حضني. شلته. دنيتني شايله. طبعا هدومي كانت ساعتها متعصر دم، فقلت يا سيد خده على ما اروح اغير واشطف ايدي. فاديته لسيد. فلما رحت الحمام الصغير غسلت ايدي ولبست بنطلون وقميص ورجعت لقيت سيد خانق الواد.
امال انت عملت ايه؟
انا اللي دخلت اول حاجه الشقه انا ومحمد، وعلى السلاح احنا ندهن الشباك. بعد كده دخلت انا عليها المطبخ اقول لها هات شويه جاز، فانا اللي حطيت ايدي على بقها وكتفتها.
بايه؟
بايديا.
بيقولوا بفوطه مبلوله.
ده بقى في الاخر دي الفوطه المبلوله بعد ما حطيت ايدي على بقها.
يعني هي وهي بتعمل الشاي انت اللي حطيت ايدك على بقها؟
انا ما شفتش وهي بتعمل شاي، بس هي كانت في المطبخ. فدخلت عليها انا اللي مسكتها.
وبعدين
فاول ما حطيت قامت هي لقيتها بصيت لي كده وقالت لي ايه خدوا كل حاجه.
يعني عرفت ان كنتوا عرفت يعني.
فما لحقت قلت لها خلاص ما تطلعيش صوت. لسه ما كملتهاش لقيت محمد داخل من بره ومعاه المطوه وعمال يغزها.
يعني انتوا خلصتوا العيال علشان خاطر ما يبقوش شهود؟
لا ده محمد بناء هو اللي خلص بناء عن كده. انا من الاول سالت البت قالت انا ما اعرفش حد، ليها صغير ما تعرفش حتى شافتنا واحنا لما مؤاخذه بنقتل امها ما اتكلمتش.
سيد زكريا علوان.
سيد زكريا علوان. عندك كم سنه يا سيد؟
27 سنه.
27 يعني انت اكبر الولاد. ايدك اليمين انت عملت بيها حاجه وحشه، ايه هي؟
طلع غصب عني.
رد على سؤالي، رد على سؤالي. انا بكلمك بهدوء عشان تقول لي كل حاجه بهدوء، مش كده؟ مش كده يا سيد؟ عملت بايدك اليمين دي ايه؟
كان الطفل عمال يصرخ جامد.
مش سامعك.
طفل عمال يصرخ جامد.
طفل عمال يصرخ جامد. وبعدين
حاولت اسيس العب اي حاجه، فقدت الوعي خالص. كنت ماسك الوقت عمال على زمارة رقبته، لقيته سكت شويه، رحت سايبه، لقيته راح مفيش ثواني لقيته راح مصوت تاني بزياده، رحت جايب اشربه ورحت ربطه على زمارة رقبته.
بعدين
يعني كان عايش عادي يعني، بس ايه الواد زي تقول كانت في حالة غيبوبة، ما اعرفش، ما كنتش متأكد والله العظيم اقسم رب العزة، انا كنت بفكره ان هو عايش.
بعد ما على زمارة رقبته بالاشارة؟
لا بس ما ربطتش جامد يعني.
بشويش يعني. بحنية يعني. بحنية يا سيد؟ بحنية ليه؟ هو انت بتربط رقبته بحنية ليه؟ بتعمل له كرافته؟ والاتنين سكتوا خالص في الشقة. وانتوا نزلتوا لقيتوا الشقة الست غرقانة في دمها والاطفال ميتين.
On November 12, 1997, the court was filled with people and media figures, and the court ruled in its first ruling to execute the 3 accused. In March 1998, the court upheld the death sentence with a final and irreversible ruling. In April of 1998, the death sentence was carried out against the 3 criminals and was broadcast on state television. That day was the last moment before the execution of the sentence against the 3 monsters.